Welcome, my lords, to the White City, where you will learn more about Middle-earth and discover differences and similarities between the Rings of Power show and Tolkien's books, and whether Amazon's show, episode by episode, is worth watching. I'm Philip Dutt, your host, and I'll be joined by Matt Vandervoort and Mark Schaefer. I hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, today we have with us AJ and also my co-host Matt here. And AJ, he is kind of has some interesting views actually about Middle-earth and if it is real, and some archaeological findings as well, and some geographical and triangulation things that he's like found to be kind of proofs, if you will, to that. So anyways, AJ, just gonna start us off. So how did you become a fan of Lord of the Rings, Tolkien? Were you like watch the movies first or read the books first? Like, how about that?
Well, The Hobbit was the first book that I read cover to cover. I gave book reports every 6 weeks, but like we had cliff notes before there were movies that came out from books. I couldn't put it down. It was a vast world with all these interesting characters, and that's where I was introduced to Tolkien, I guess you'd say. But I became a fan when the Lord of the Rings hit the movies. That Peter Jackson, well done. I watched them like sometimes daily. They would come on the television. I just wouldn't stop. They would just be in the background, and so that's when I became a fan, the movies. But the book was my first introduction to the literature.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say for me, I definitely watched the movies first. I mean, my dad read them to me whenever I was young, but I like couldn't remember it like at all before I watched. I mean, I watched them when I was like 6. I think it was whenever I watched The Fellowship, and then yeah, and then I've read the books since. But yeah, it was definitely the movies that got me started. And then, how about you, Matt?
Yeah, I first read The Hobbit in 5th grade. It was like an assigned reading at school. And then from there, in 6th grade, I read The Lord of the Rings. And then I read The Silmarillion and The Children of Hurin, which are the only ones out at that point. So I haven't read the newer... Okay, yeah, no, I haven't read the newer ones. I've read the... I've read Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, Silmarillion, Children of Hurin. And I really, especially in middle school, but even like now, I'm really into like fantasy and things like that. So I just sort of fell in love with them because like they're...
So like, what did you say is your kind of like the most alluring part of like Lord of the Rings or Middle-earth, AJ?
Well, it's tough not to get caught up in the cinematic beauty of the films, but what I have found is it's another level. Like it's the history, it's the geography, and now it's the actual places that I've seen with my own eyes that match the description in the books. I can't. It's more like a consumption, a passion, an infection. Yeah, it's terrible. I've got to tell somebody about it. I can't die with it.
Nice. Yeah. So you're talking about like you've seen like these places that you've seen that have like kind of been like, oh wow, this is how like Helm's Deep was described in the books, and like there it is.
Well,
like
so,
that kind of a thing, or
oh gosh. So there's a quote that I sent you from Coronado. Is there any way you could pull that up and like you could look at it and we can talk about it a little bit? So I graduated from a university here in Texas. I will not name them. And I went in for a master's degree with history with an emphasis on government. And what I discovered was that Native Americans own land as individuals. We were taught in school that they own land as a tribe, and that like the first guy traded New York Island for a set of wampum beads. Well, if somebody offers you a diamond necklace for your ranch, maybe you take it and maybe you don't. Depends on the size of the ranch and the diamonds, I suppose. I found that they subdivided the entire North American continent into rectangular food plots that were 150 acres big. And my thesis team said, you can't call Thomas Jefferson a liar from our university, because he created the rectangle survey system that went into these rectangles and cut them into square townships, the layout that we know the land by today. Well, this land division is from coast to coast. It's on New York Island, and it goes all the way to California. And after being denied access and to publish this thesis, I continued my research. I was going to write a book instead. And what I found was that the American sources had been deleted or were missing from this rectangle survey system. So I went to French and Spanish sources, hoping to find evidence of these rectangles, where I ran across that quote from Coronado. And the first thing I thought was, oh, that's the Beacons of Gondor lit. Like, can you read it? Like, you have it?
I do not have it.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Is it? Oh, I got it. Is this one here? Wait. You're talking out of the images you sent?
Yeah.
Spreading the alarm throughout the country by means of great fires, which they kindled on the high mountains.
Yeah, I read that, and I thought, dude, that's the Beacons of Gondor lit. And the first thing I thought was, Tolkien, you thief. Because he was a well-read historian. There wasn't any histories that escaped him. And what I thought was that he read that, and that's where he got the idea for the Beacons of Gondor. But then I was somewhat considering, what if Coronado was invading Gondor? Like, I'd been looking at these maps, and I'd looked at Middle-earth map I've got an image on my wall. And I saw these maps of the United States hand-drawn, and the two places look similar. So I tried to line them up, knowing what river Coronado came in on, what he was likely looking at, and I just couldn't make the connection. They were similar, but they weren't the same maps. So I continued on my research, and I was looking into Tolkien art, where I found that other image, the compass. Can you pull that one up and look at that for a moment? And this really led to my discovery.
Let me share my screen. I can share my screen about it.
So it's a compass, and it was drawn. Now, I still haven't found who drew this yet. Nobody's claimed it, and I can't find its original thing. And the original art is no longer available where I found it. All I have is a screenshot of it. But it's the northeast-southwest compass, but there's arrows on each one of the letters. Like, can you make out it? Like, so there's clearly an arrow on the end pointing down. There's an arrow on the W pointing the other way. There's one on the S clearly pointing to the right. And that, I looked at it and I was like, what? And then the green S right next to the N, I thought, oh, I'm supposed to turn my map upside down. And when I did, the Misty Mountains became the Rocky Mountains. The Uton Basin became Mordor. And I'm very familiar with Google Earth, and I've found about a dozen sites from Middle Earth and their real-world namesake. So that was the funny thing about this whole thing. Not just what we're looking at, but the places and what they're named. So the Hobbiton in the Shire is where it should be. And there's an image that I sent of the Google Earth image, and then a Silmarillion map. And I can talk about those, and we can correspond those and compare them. But it's in Hobbs, Texas. Fangorn Forest is today called Gila Forest, as in Gila Monster. So today Fangorn Forest is kind of Monster Forest. The Tower of Sauron is today called the Temple of Solomon. Minas Tirith is exactly where it should be, and it's called Castle Mountain. And there's not just white ruins sticking up out of the ground, but there's a line of white trees across the spire. Let me see if I can send you another image here. So, the other things that I've sent you. So there's the Shire is today in Hobbs, Texas, I said. And I flew my drone over the area, and where Bag End should be is a stand of trees, and in the front of that line of trees looks like a sidewalk, and in the front of the stand of trees and in the back is an area that's round and sunken, you know, like where the door would be, and the chimney is where it should be, and it's still sticking up out of the ground, and it's round and white. Helm's Deep is today in Laguna, New Mexico, because a lagoon is a deep place. And it's not one fortification. It's 10 square miles of fortified basin. Like if you were to come into this area, it's clear that it used to be an ocean basin. And they've taken the walls where the beach would be, or not, it took where the beaches would be, and they've built walls. So I've seen the deeping walls. And if you follow these deeping walls, they lead you right up to the front of Helm's Deep, where in the front of Helm's Deep, where the main battle takes place, is a human waste facility. Not a joke. Whenever I got to that place, I don't know if you've ever gone to like a cemetery and felt a heaviness, or the Vietnam Memorial Wall has that same type of a dark, foreboding heaviness. And it just felt like the place did not want me there. My drone, whenever I flew it on the first day that I got to that place, went haywire. I fly a DJI. It's very computerized, very controlled. If it loses connection with the home base, it just comes back to its original spot. Helm's Deep ate my drone. The first day I managed to bring it down before it went into the human waste pond, but it didn't act up any other day except for the first day and the last day. The first day I managed to bring it down, and a buddy of mine went and got it for me. We did some other flights around, saw other parts of the wall, and then on the last day we went back to that same launch place, looking at the front, like where the main assault happened, and as soon as my drone got into the air, it took a nosedive into the front of Helm's Deep, about a half a mile away, and I couldn't recover it. Very sad. So,
Man,
I've seen and made comparisons and things that are awe-inspiring, and I'm going to go see other places. But I don't know if you've heard of the TV show or not, Skinwalker Ranch. The History Channel,
Nope.
Skinwalker Ranch, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch.
I've heard of it.
Well, don't watch that, because they're investigating the Sea of Nirnan in southern Mordor. And the place where they are going, the Navajo consider cursed, that they don't go there. Navajo Mountain is Mount Doom. Like the Black Navajo Mountain, it's an ancient volcano. That's where Mount Doom is. That is Mount Doom. So are you following what I'm saying? Like, have you looked at the maps? Is it blowing your mind at all? Are these places you would go?
You know, to be honest, I think it's cool in a sense to like be able to like try to match places with like with the Middle Earth locations and all. But
I sense skepticism.
it is like what?
I sense skepticism.
I am a little skeptical, to be honest. Yeah.
You should be.
It seems a little too easy to like say, oh, all these places are connecting to where exactly they should be on the map.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to encourage you to do the comparative analysis yourself. Take a map of Middle Earth, make it transparent, use the Google Earth, set it to 250 miles per, I think, 2 inches or something like that. and then just overlay the two. Watch what happens. Like Isengard today can be found in a place called Osengud. And that's what I think is the funniest thing, is that history is not gone. There's remnants of it. And history is written by the victors, but fiction is written by the lyricists, the poets, the bards, and you can't escape that. Like, it's what stays, even though there's a different king or a different queen. And one of the questions that you had posed earlier was that did Heinrich Schliemann know that Troy was real? Well, he theorized that it was. Like, he read Homer's Iliad and Odyssey and was like, these are all places that are real. The characters, the settings, everything seemed so real to him that he thought it couldn't not be real. So he followed mountain ranges and looked for a river that would follow its way to the ocean where two rivers came together, a natural trading place. And he didn't find one Troy, he found 7, one stacked on top of the next. And that's the story of Earth, is that we become, and then we're not. And then something else comes and builds on top of what we were. And that's what has happened here.
Yeah. What's interesting, though, is, like, I believe, like, Homer actually, like, believed and knew that Troy existed.
Homer did. Homer was the writer, right? Like, he's like the original formation script or historian. These stories that Tolkien got were from a book called The Deeds of Danes. So that person who wrote that book undoubtedly believed that they were real, maybe. I don't know. It's really speculative to say who knew what when they're just taking an old story and then retelling it. Like, I don't know that Tolkien did or didn't know. I know that his map makers, like the people that he paid to make maps, said that he pored over maps. Like, and he was very much a cartographer, and he loved to draw maps. So I don't know what he knew and what he didn't know. But I know that what he had came from an earlier source that was based in myth and lore. And there's truth in there. It's not necessarily the truth. I guess you could say that I read fiction the same way that I read religious texts or something like that. It's not necessarily the thing that happened, but there might be some truth in that story. So that's really that's what has changed in me after this finding, is that I think that's how history and fiction work, is that fiction's become the great man story. My dad was a great fisherman. He used to feed us with a fish fry every year. And then my son tells it that my dad caught the biggest fish ever out of the pond over there, and it fed the whole town. Well, his great-grandson tells it that my dad caught the biggest fish that came out of the ocean. And when futurists look back and try to find that truth of who my dad, the fisherman, really was, there's a difference there. And I think that's exactly what all of fiction is it's somebody got a hold of a story and they added better meat to the bones. Maybe.
You can see that.
It's all a maybe, right? So I don't know. I'm 98.5% sure that I have been to Bag End and Helm's Deep, and my next stop is Fangorn Forest, today Gila Forest, and from there I plan to go to Minas Tirith, today Castle Mountain, and do the same type of drone survey that I've done before. Hopefully I'll get my drone back. Like, I lost my drone in Helm's Deep. Bag End was not in any way like Helm's Deep at my arrival there. Bag End was very serene. Gosh, you could almost call it a peaceful place. Whereas Laguna, New Mexico felt very defensive, very dark and foreboding. And I mean, but there's human waste over top of a battlefield. If spirits do have anything that resembles a feeling or a power or a thing, then it's got to be happening right there. But like I said, I encourage you to take your map and take your Google Earth and do a little comparative analysis, and watch your brain do somersaults, because I don't have words for how I feel about this. Like, it's a little terrifying to me. I didn't let the actual locations or the actual names of these places out for a good 3 years because I feared for the places that somebody might just go take up a shovel and start digging, and I don't have the ability to protect these places, and I didn't know what to do. A year ago, the Tolkien Society asked me for my pre-paper. I haven't heard back from them yet. It's been over a year, and that has all the locations and all the exact ways to find everything. And I thought if anybody has the resources to protect these things, they would. But it is what it is. I don't know what to do. I just know that I can't stop telling people about this. And I feel like if I don't tell more people, that something terrible might happen and these places could be in danger.
Yeah, conservation of these locations is always good.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Sorry, conservation of these places is always good in any sort
Some of them
archaeological
are
attempts.
protected right now in that they are on reservation land, and you can't even access them. So, Hobbs, Texas, the place, the section of land is for sale right now. Like, you guys got about $2 million just laying around because we could go buy Bag End right now, and we could change the world.
I do have a question that I am curious. So you talk a lot about the names of these places, but a lot of these names, as far as I can tell, are the European names that have been put on these places later. What's your explanation for why those would be the same if these are like?
So, if you've ever gone to Europe or old Europe or even Asia, you can see the names like Odessa. Wichita Falls is an Indian name, but Gainesville or any of the names of the cities, Phoenix. I know there's a Los Angeles in Mexico. Most places there was a name before it, and it may have changed. So I have the same question, like, who did name these places? Coronado refers to the shining city on the hill, the white city or the silver city. Cibola is what Ponce de Leon, I think, was looking for, what he said that it was called. Tolkien called it Minas Tirith. We know it as the White City. Do you know it as the White City? I don't, like, how would you refer to the thing that happened in Return of the King? It's Minas Tirith to you. Yeah? No? What is it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Minas Tirith.
Primarily.
Well,
Yeah.
would it make sense if I told you that today it's called Castle Mountain? Does that mean Minas Tirith to you? Is Minas Tirith a castle mountain?
I think if I were to take at face value the idea that it is a real place, that would be a name that would make sense to me for it to be.
It made me laugh. Like, let me see if I can get you the picture of the spire that happens, or that I pictured, and I've got an image of. So what would it take? And this is really my question for you guys or for your audience. What would it take for you to believe that what I'm saying is real and true? Like, I have my standard of proof based on my criminal justice studies and what I have seen and what I have collected with my own eyes. But I don't know what you would need to reach those same conclusions. Like, what would you need to see to believe?
If I'm being completely honest, what I would need to see would be something from Tolkien himself. Mostly because, like, there's been a lot of research done into what sort of inspired Tolkien. And a lot of that, to my understanding, and from the research that I've done on it, is mostly European, Scandinavian, Finnish, Welsh, that area of storytelling. And I even, I believe that his initial sort of goal with writing Lord of the Rings is to create an English mythology. So if hypothetically, from my perspective at least, he is drawing from a real place, I'd have to see from him what and why he would be drawing from Western North American folklore and geography.
And so, I mean, to wit, I can only respond like, what if he didn't know? Like, what if he's just taking lore and myth and doing the same thing that all authors have done and retelling the story? Like, I'm claiming that Martin, the writer of The Song of Fire and Ice, did the same thing. Like, they're the same characters, they're just playing slightly different roles. I mean, Jon Snow is clearly a ranger from a bereft house. Arya has got a tiny sword she calls Needle. Frodo's got a tiny sword he calls Sting. Sam the Wise is, one of the guys in Game of Thrones who, his knowledge is what kind of maybe saves the day, whereas Samwise Gamgee's our hero for saving Frodo. The Witch King, the Red Witch King, is killed by a strong, pale blonde, and he's never been beaten in battle by a man, and yet, Brianna of Tarth takes him down. Well, he was already bleeding out. But the stories are similar, but they're not the same stories. And so did Martin know that there is a reality behind his stuff? I don't know. I don't know. And all of these things that I'm proposing are really just theories. When I was young, I used to believe you could know things and that things could be concrete. Quantum mechanics and physics and understandings of the way quarks work. It's all theory now. Like, we might be living in a matrix. This thing, my finding this, makes me believe this is a matrix. Like, I'm trying to, max score life. This is not normal. People don't do this. And I don't know. I think that what I've got here is something solid and good, but I don't know anymore. Because this could be a dream, man. This could be the Matrix. You guys are having your own dream about your own podcast. You're the guy who found Middle Earth. That's crazy, right? Like, I don't know what to think about this world and about the things in it. It's a very romantic idea for me. And I'm a romantic fool.
Yeah.
So besides Tolkien himself, I sent you an image. Can you pull that up? That is the top of Castle Mountain. That's the spire jetting out, the thing that Denethor ran out on, well, maybe he didn't. It was a long way from that back funeral pyre area. I don't know that he actually made that run. So you can see there's some ruins to the right side, about halfway through the spire, but there's a line of white trees that still stretch across. That's a beautiful thing to me. And if you take the maps from the Silmarillion and go to these places, you can find like almost dead-on matches for the way they should look. Like
that would be another question I have, just because in Tolkien's lore, obviously, Valerian gets sunk beneath the waves at the end of the Silmarillion. So, does this match up? So, like, are there areas that you can find from the Silmarillion, or like, what's your take on that?
So in Game of Thrones, what did they call Old Valyria? Is what he calls it, and he describes the doom of Old Valyria. That's the sinking of Numenor, and if you read Plato, that's the sinking of Atlantis. So there was a time, and maybe a continent that exists that's not on maps now, or it looks very different. So one of the other things that I found along my Google Earth journey was that Krakatoa erupted 5,500 years ago, and it sent a red wash tsunami around the world that melted the ice caps. And that debris is over top of Helm's Deep. So I propose that these stories are pre-biblical, and that the Krakatoa eruption was Noah's flood.
So what's your timeline on this? Like, how are you thinking this is like 5,000 years ago?
Yeah.
Is that this, or whatever the original stories are?
And I reached that conclusion because this red sand wash, it's what makes up the most part of the west part of Australia. When you're looking at Google Earth, there's like this red clay. It comes from Vesuvius, the Indian Ocean, or the Red Sea. And there's maps of volcanoes and the tsunami results. The map from Krakatoa's tsunami matches the 5,500 years ago. And then there's ocean core samples off the west coast of Africa that actually date the Krakatoa event with red clay, and then right behind it is a layer of black ash. So that's what I know, is that these tales are older than that. Because what used to be Helm's Deep is now like a big lump. Like you can't see the walls of Helm's Deep because it's just covered up. But the top of Helm's Deep, on top of the hill, there's brickwork. And some ruins coming out of the top of Helm's Deep. I'll get you another picture here. Maybe I will. Okay, it's not accessible to me at the moment. I need to download things. So on that other link that I sent you from the IMGUR place, there's all of my pictures and the maps and almost there, Chief. And
yeah,
you don't have to do all of the research. Like, I've got a pretty good path laid out that you could, if someone was interested, they could follow behind me and see things pretty easily. Oh, here we go, right here. So this next image that I'm sending you is from 400 feet up and about a half a mile away. and then from right above it. Now, the reason that it's not a good image, it's because this is just thumbnails. My drone was eaten by Helm's Deep, so I didn't get to get the full megabytes and pixels on this. So the one to the very far right, like, so there's two pictures in the top. The one to the far right is what Helm's Deep looks like from the back side and about a half a mile away and from 400 feet up. And then the top or the bottom picture is a direct image from over top. And there's some stonework in the upper left side that you can see as pixelation in squares. Can you make them out? Like, so the top right image is that's the hump, and that's what Helm's Deep looks like today. And then the very bottom image, if you look in the top left hand corner there, there's some looks like square brick things. I plan to go back. Right now I am rebuilding a 1979 Class C RV. I traded my sports coupe for it because my shoulders couldn't get my wheelchair in and out anymore. And I'm about to try to do a thing like you guys are doing. We're going to podcast from each one of the locations, and we're going to give drone footage and some close-up, better images, because my drone shot in 4K, but these are not 4K images. So there's more data to collect.
Yeah. So obviously this is a very original theory. I don't think I've ever heard anybody positing this before. What would your answer be to people that say oh, these aren't necessarily this is a very wide ranging area and we know of a lot of different cultures. What's to say that these aren't earlier or later than the dates you're positing is a question.
How did I date the sites that I've been to and these tales? Is that what you're asking?
How did you date the site specifically? Yeah, that's basically
so
it.
It's really just connected to that Krakatoa thing, and because the debris at that place, it's just this really loose sandy stuff that the westward expansion people had to get through and over. But there was also another earthquake in 1751 when the Mississippi River ran backwards and relocated 100 miles west. That could have caused what we see, but I don't know. Whenever I read recently about the kinslaying, where the elves took it upon themselves to destroy other elves, and I was just reading about the war between the Apaches and the Comanches and how one side sided with the French or the Spanish, which only led to their demise. I was like, oh, wow, he might have been taking more of and doing the same. It's just real history that he retextures and retells. And I think that's why his stories are so gripping. It's because they came from a real thing, and that is what inspires humans, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to deny that a lot of stories like that are definitely inspired by real events. I know you've mentioned Martin. I know he directly took basically the War of the Roses.
Yes.
For his inspiration. But then he pulls in his own stuff as well. So I think that would be the main place where I break with what you're saying, is that because I have a history degree and I read these stories and it's yeah, I can tell where he's, pulling from War of the Roses or very specific events, but I don't know if I would go, personally, I don't know if I would go as far as to say that they're all, they're this old or whatever. I think he might just be writing what he knows, which is, the basic the most basic piece of writing advice is write
Well,
what you
I
know.
think Joseph Campbell
So-
would have something to say about that, right? Like, so it's like the same story we keep being told over and over again with different characters and different motifs and different settings. Martin himself has said that he has drawn from real characters and real history and then, fictionalized them. And I think, again, I think we all have done that. Like, we stand on the shoulders of giants for the artists and the writers who have come before us. And when I read that quote from Coronado, when I read that, I in my brain accused Tolkien of thievery, of outright plagiarism. Like, when I read that, I was like, you thief! He read that and just stuck it into his book. It sounded the same to me. And then I thought, oh, wow, what if everything that he had written came from an earlier source? And if you read the Deeds of Danes, there's absolutely lines and kings that follow the same story in the Ring books, and Lithian and all of those beautiful histories have come from an earlier source, and he has just refleshed them. Now, I don't know how much he knew about what he knew. Like, I don't know what I don't know. And so, whether or not Tolkien was completely and totally aware that what he was writing was real, and he took great effort to mark exactly how many miles things are from each other, and then when you actually lay the map over top of the real world, it matches up. I mean, the speculative lawyer wannabe in me is like, so, JRR, how much of this reality is or can be found in the real world? And whenever posed that question, he was always very ambiguous and very misleading. He was never direct. And if ever he said anything, I heard him say, oh no, this is completely fiction. I made it up, and it's for England so that we can have our own tales and myths. But there's an interview with one of his map makers, and they ask him, so, have you tried to find it? Have you tried to see where he got this from? And he smiles and he says, Tolkien pored over maps. That's how he knew how rivers and mountains interact with each other. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's nothing. But it sounded like something to me because of what I know. And the detail that are found in the Middle Earth map, and it can be applied to Google Earth findings. Rivendell might be in northern Mexico. Elrond's house is a stand of trees. There are round stone pillars at a place called the Seats in front of the forest. There's evidence of a waterfall and a bridge exactly where it should be. And there's stables of a rectangular nature and a forge of a square nature, opposite of where they should be. But like, all of those artifacts can be found on Google Earth. And they match and are the same distance and are the same type and kind as the map from the Silmarillion. I mean, every time I look for something and where it should be, I find a thing that could be the thing that it's supposed to be, and it's just named something very different. Like, in the Hobbiton Basin, if you know where the Tower of Sauron was, and we go to the Hobbiton Basin today, and we go to the place where the Tower of Sauron is supposed to be, we find a giant ruin, or there's a thing there, and it's crumbled down. It doesn't look like anything, but it's called the Temple of Solomon. That's just hilarious to me. And just pick a place on the map, and we'll go to Google Earth, and I will find you something that'll make you go, oh, that's hilarious. Like the place where Rohan is, home of the Horse Lords, is today called the Rael Horse Ranch Pasture. That's funny.
Yeah. So I do have a question about the beacons.
What?
So I know
Go ahead.
the beacons. So I know that that system of communication is not unique to that region of the world. I believe that in northern Turkey they also used a similar system. Like the Persian Empire used something, because whenever you have a large civilization that needs to communicate, you often come up with similar ideas, like a Pony Express sort of thing or a beacon kind of thing. What makes you think that this specific location is what inspired?
Nothing. Like, that was just the first thing that I found that connected what I was seeing to Tolkien. Like, when I read that quote by Coronado, I heard the beacons of Gondor are lit. And that's when I started to try to make my maps match, and I didn't have any luck. It wasn't until I found that compass, that's when I turned my map upside down and saw the Rockies and Mordor and the Uton Basin and the rivers where they should be. And that's when I started thinking, oh, wow, this might be a thing. So it wasn't the beacons themselves being lit. It was that compass that looked like I was supposed to turn my map upside down. That felt like a clue in every way. It felt like somebody had left something there for somebody else to see and find out. And today I can't find the author or the artist that did that. If you guys could, I will pay cash money. I would love to talk to that person. I would love to know what they know. There's another image that I pulled from Facebook or something the other day, and it was a parody map of Middle Earth, and like they called Gondor Fordor or something like that, but it was clearly a play on Middle Earth. And the map, the compass map, they don't switch up and down, they switch left and right. And I was like, oh, somebody else knew. So I don't know who knows what. But I know that there are some people who give little hints and clues, and then they just don't say anything else. Like the guy who was that I've spoken about, who was his main map maker, it's all in his face and about how he responds to the question. So if you looked for it, do you know if it's real or not? And he's got a shit-eating grin on his face, and he says, I know that Tolkien pored over maps, and that's how he knew, and that's how he knows how rivers and mountains interact with each other. Because he was commenting about how real and how the maps look like they're drawn by a cartographer. And he's very careful about how long it takes to get from one place to the next, and then how many miles that equals. So I don't know. I don't know. But I'm really interested to do more data gathering. Like, I cannot wait to get to Castle Mountain. But again, I am terrified about going to Skinwalker Ranch or entering any part of the Uton Basin. If you don't know anything about Skinwalker Ranch, when you do the research here, allow yourself to be terrified, because you should be. Like, the people who have lived on Skinwalker Ranch claim that they've heard trains and machines underground. And the last aerial scan that they did of one of the mesas in Skinwalker Ranch, where we know is the Sea of Nirnan, they discovered metal tubes under the ground. So if we do Game of Thrones reality, the evil is just sleeping. it's waiting for an opportunity for winter to rise and for the Night King to take over. Yeah. Indeed. I mean, I've everything that I'm saying out loud, you guys look like you're taking like with a grain of salt, like yeah, maybe, maybe not, maybe. But I live in the potential that all of these things could possibly be true. And I've seen evidence to the same. And that, in a small way, terrifies me. Because we don't know what we don't know. And we just have these tales of potential pasts. I'm interested to do more research.
Yeah.
Yeah, more research is always good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I know something for me. I was say something for me. I know, like, I don't have to worry about the unknown, just because I know where I stand, on things, and on also like in who I put my trust too. But yeah, I know, like, I kind of think, hey, it's kind of like interesting to fool around with, but I guess from the other side, I think I just know that, like, that's, you know, Middle Earth is not the way that our world has been built. But
Who knows? Like, I don't know what I thought I did in my youth. Like, I was absolutely certain about the way things were, and the older and more I've seen of things, the more I think that we just don't know. Like, we just don't know. We can think, and like, I ask you what it would take for you to believe. There's no amount of proof that I could provide you. Like, the only person that could prove this is dead. So, I can't help you to know anything. I can just tell you what I think and what I have found. And that's the great blessing and curse of this, is that our findings, what you find, is really only for you. I would thank you for this opportunity, but if I could pick your brain, why would this knowledge or this theory upset people? Because, like, you guys seem very calm and you're listening and you seem interested in what I'm saying. I've experienced the 180 degrees the opposite of that. I've been thrown off of websites. I've had my posts taken down. I've been threatened. Why? Why is the idea that a fiction could be based on a reality upsetting to some?
I know that it's just that entirely.
Well,
I know.
if I could,
I'll just give it like just short here real quick. I mean, you got like people like arguing over like things about rings of power, like as if, you know, somebody's right, somebody's wrong, and make a big deal of it. That kind of a thing, you know. It's like, you know, people like get into pretty, you know, big arguments over that sort of thing. But yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think, yeah, people like to argue, and people, again, I agree. I think people get really upset when people challenge what they believe. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not really sure if I would buy what you're saying, just to be completely out on the table. But I do admire that you are pursuing this train of thought, because I think that questioning sort of long-held assumptions about the world is a worthwhile endeavor, even if it does eventually the questions end up not coming to any fruition. But I do think there are a lot of people out there that don't like when the status quo gets upset. So I don't think it's fair to, you know, kick you off websites and things like that just because you're coming up with this theory, because, you know, it makes for more interesting discussion. But there are people out there who conflate defending the truth with being jerks.
Well, trolls are
And,
real, my friend.
that's-
I mean, they are
Oh,
real.
yeah, no, trolls
and
are
anytime the
absolutely
sunlight shows up, they go away. Like, as long as they can act in anonymity, they are happy to dump on anybody. And
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I think that is
yeah.
absolutely a real thing in Tolkien's writing. It was just portrayed a little differently, but trolls are real. I've seen them.
So I don't know. I think people. It could also be a sense of pride thing. Like, if people just don't like getting questioned and challenged. I don't know. That's.
I just don't understand the anger. Like, I get that there are people who are passionate, but I'm not denigrating what happened. This to me is like the ultimate celebration of the author's work, is to actually go and look for real clues and what led to the creation of this. But I have another theory why it hasn't caught on yet. Like, why can't I just have a conversation with... This is the first conversation that I've had with any type of actual person that I met who has broadcast ability. And I've requested others. The Tolkien Society asked me for my pre-paper and then nothing for over a year. Why? Why would that be? Why wouldn't they want this thing discussed? Why wouldn't they want to discuss this thing? And I have a theory. Maybe you could give me your feedback. If it's real, there's no copyright protections. Like, it would end all the licensing. So if it's real, then it's history, and we all have freedom of press, and we can all editorialize on it, or talk about it, or reproduce it for our own gain. But if it's Tolkien's creation, then the heirs to the throne get the wealth and the riches. So there might be a vested interest in not addressing the reality of what we're talking about. Maybe. What do you think about that?
I mean, again, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with your theories. I would say that, hypothetically, if it were true, I think you'd be onto something, because I myself am not a huge fan of copyright shenanigans, which happen more often than they should.
Well,
So-
that's one of my next steps. Not only am I going to go gather data, but I want to make a Lord of the Rings board game. Like dice rolling, kind of like Risk, only use modern city names. Like, I sent you a map of modern Middle Earth. Every place that I've found is listed where it should be. And try to get sued. And then make the argument in court that this is history. You didn't create this. I found it. It's real. I don't know. I don't know what... I really don't know what to do next. Like, besides go and collect more data and fly my drone and do a podcast like you guys are doing, I don't know what to do. Like, I've had my pre-paper in front of agents and nobody even responds. Like, I can't get anybody to respond and say, interesting theory, we're not interested. No, thank you. TED Talks. I applied for TED Talk to be on TED Talks, sent them all of my research, and I got a response back that says we're not doing TED Talks this year. Okay. Let me know next year. I'll reapply.
Thanks for coming out and sharing your ideas and
Thank you guys for
information.
having me.
It's been cool.
I would just encourage you to, whatever you think or don't believe about what I've said, just take your maps, overlay them, look for yourself. It's mind-boggling.
All right, yeah.
But thank
Well,
you
yeah, well,
guys.
thanks, man.
I appreciate you. And I wish you
Yep.
the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for visiting the White City. Before you leave, please subscribe to our podcast and check us out at thewhitecitypodcast.com. or on YouTube or Facebook under the tag @The White City Podcast.